All right, welcome back, folks, to another video. I'm not gonna say, "Hey again, YouTube," because this probably isn't gonna go on YouTube. Forget YouTube. We're gonna go with Rumble. Some people who aren't complete sellouts just yet. Anyway, I got to get my rant on right away here. Thank you so much, folks, for joining me for this. This isn't gonna be anything too involved. I just didn't want to pass up the opportunity like I did, unfortunately, several movie viewings prior to this uh, over the past year or so, where I said, you know what, I want to make a little review of it for whether I upload the video or not, just for my record. So I collect my thoughts and I make a little video showing what I liked about this film or that film right after I see it. So everything's fresh on my mind because I enjoyed it that much. I didn't do this for June, the first film, so I'm going to make sure to do it now with Dune 2. It is the 7th of April. Let me look at my receipt here. You can see it. I always keep these. Dune part, well, actually, it says AD for whatever reason. I don't know why, but these are such sorry uh, things printed out. Anyway, you can barely read it. What a horrible ticket stub. If I tried to offer this one day as proof that I saw this movie, I think people would look at it and say, okay, AMC theaters, but this is just such a sad looking. It's barely printed on there. Anyways, I'm gonna keep it anyways, just because I hang on to all my ticket stubs or when I remember to. Dune 2. First things first. I loved my time at the movies today. I almost said I love this film, but I enjoyed it. I'm gonna say that. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was a great time at the movies. Like I said, unfortunately, I forgot to collect my thoughts about the first film when I first saw it. How long has it been? Has it been 2 or 3 years? I'm going to look this up real quick. When did Dune come out? That is the remake, this updated. Okay, to 2021, so it has been 3 years. Wow, and I enjoyed that film, but I enjoyed this so much more, part two, because it seemed like the first film, for whatever reason, that they were so heavy on some of the catching you up to speed as much as they could over the past 10,000 years of this universe in Dune, where it's the year 10,000 and something, and so they've got to try and put you in there, and it seemed like it was slow. It was. I remember thinking some of this is just boring. I didn't want to say that because it is an epic film. It is such a great effort they're putting into it, and I thought, wow, there's so much here. One thing I remember now that I'm remembering this, um, so much low talking in the first film that they didn't repeat that with this one. But Paul's mother, in particular, I remember it being a problem, at least with me, hearing her. Rebecca Ferguson's character Jessica, um, Atreides, Paul Atreides' mother, and man, I remember thinking, I can't. I'm here. The bathroom break isn't. The call of nature isn't calling me just yet to get out of here, which unfortunately it has started over the past few years. I can't just sit still, drink a sugary Coke about an hour, and I got to get up. It's like I'm an old man or something. I got to go. I miss out on like 5 minutes of the movie, and I hate that. Didn't really mind it this time because the movie's so long, and I waited for a part that I'm like, you know what? I can avoid this little bit of a love scene between Paul and Zendaya's character. What is her name? I get the names of the characters in this film very. Why don't they have Zendaya on? Oh, she's right there. It's just they got her in a distant thing. Uh, Janie, or I remember her wanting to be called Johnny in this, and then part two. So yeah, that was a gripe I had for the first film. What's with the low talking? And come to think of it, something I enjoyed seeing in that first film that they didn't see in part two, that portal spaceship, that enormously massive ship that is like you pass through space through this tunnel. I'm like, that is wild. I'd like to think maybe something like that could be rigged up in the course of 10,000 years. But who knows? Who knows? It was just really neat. I'm like, okay, so that's basically their. If this were Star Wars, this would be their light speed going through, um, going through that tunnel. That's what I'm going to call it. I don't know what the thing's actually called, and I haven't read the books, which for me at this point, I'm kind of glad about because it's helping me to enjoy these more. I am going to have to get into the books, if only to understand the politics and a little bit more of the background story better than I do. Because, like I said, watching this film, I'm loving it, but at the same time, it's like I'm not getting some of these names. I'm keeping up with the people, but I'm not getting some of the names of these characters. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it much more than the first one. I didn't hate the first one. I knew I was going to be back, and I knew I wanted to catch this while it's in the theaters, movie theaters, because you just got to catch an epic like this at the movie theater. It really helps me to remember stuff about a film whenever I see it in the big dark theater on the silver screen. I just love it. I love going to the movies, and with my job as an over the road truck driver, it's hard to catch a flick. Anyways, what can I say about this? I was a little bit disappointed with the lack of. Well, you know what? I don't want to repeat myself. I'm going to include something on this. It was the conversation that I had with my folks, my mother and my sister on the way home from the theater, and I don't want to repeat anything that I remember saying in that uh, little our little post movie watching uh, confab where I forced them to talk about the movie, and I record it as we drive home. It's just a fun thing that I do. It's fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for them or not, but my aunt called while we were driving home, so I had to cut that part out. Anyways, the storytelling, it really picked the pace really picked up, and for it to be an even longer movie than the first one was really something. I remember thinking it's the politics of it. At first, I wanted to think: are people going to maybe compare this to Episode One of Star Wars? How we got the Trade Federation, and we got some problems here, and there's a lot of just wicked manipulators. It's like there's a multitude of Palpatines because of this priest class. I'm thinking of the Jesuit whatchamacallits as like a priestly prophetic vision seeing class, and that's another gripe I had against the first movie, the first part, 3 years ago, because when John would have these visions, it's like he doesn't understand what's happening to him and what he's seeing, and I sure don't understand what he's seeing. I'm trying to learn, and there's friction between him and his mother because she's in tune to these prophecies, and he's not. He's a lot like Zendaya's character Johnny was in this film. She's a total skeptic about it, and you see where she's coming from though. She does not want. She loves her people. She has an allegiance to her people, which is so admirable, and she's the only one, I guess, at the end of the film who really stuck to her guns, even though everything is finally going their way, Paul's way. They're not on the run the way they were really at the end of the first film. Spoiler alert, by the way. I don't know if you've seen the movie or not, folks, but I guess I should preface somehow. I'll put a title up saying spoilers or something, just in case you don't want anything spoiled in the movie. Um, that's yeah, that was something. The character development again after you've had 4 hours of storytelling in a movie, it ought to be getting done, and really they did it. Um, Christopher Walken was in this. I was looking forward to seeing him. Didn't really see in him what I was hoping to. I was hoping that he would be allowed to bring some of his. He he plays a lot of odd, eccentric characters. Christopher Walken does, and I was hoping they would give him a little bit of that in this movie, just for Hollywood old time movie sake. A little bit of a wink, wink at the audience. No, it was very to the point, to the character. I'm assuming, and because again, I haven't read the books. It was just straight to it, and again, the first part and the second part that I just saw today of the Dune remake makes me think that, again, I haven't read the books, but there's just something about the quality of it that makes me think that they've really done something special here as far as bringing the books to film, and like a real labor of love kind of a thing. I'm under the impression that this again, if I were a hardcore Dune fan, which I'm not because I never read the books, didn't even see the original film, which I have to absolutely see one day, just for comparison's sake. See what the old film from the '80s is about, and how they did things then in telling the story. Um, I just have to think this is good stuff, that they really did a good job, because when a film, they don't just make movies like this. This isn't Star Wars that started out as well. Obviously, somebody writes a script and a playwright, so and such, but they were movies first, as opposed to somebody wrote a best-selling book that was beloved by fans, and then they made a film, and then later, now decades later, they're making major motion picture blockbuster movies about it. And so that makes me think that they really did a good job of whatever's in the books, really bringing it out and telling the story, because this is a blockbuster. It is a very entertaining film, and I can understand the great praise it's getting, because I just there's so much to the ending of this film, and I guess I'll really get into spoilers now. As we were driving home, I was thinking, I almost had tears falling at what happens at the end of this film, because John has come so far, and again, the storytelling really getting to it. The arc of him coming into his own, accepting certain things, accepting his destiny, and what these visions are telling him he has to do. How nobody's in this position except him, and there's just so much uh, uh, science fiction Jesus parallels like that I can see all through this 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 movie. How and this story, how there's a one guy who at first he had some doubts, but he quickly uh, the more he saw of John and how John was and what he was about. It's Stiglar, played by Javier Bardem, Javier Bardem. How he was a hoot in this movie. How he's like, do you see how humble he is? He doubts that he is. He is definitely the one, and his eyes, and he's so animated as he's getting everybody to go along and believe with him as he does that John. I'm sorry, I keep calling him John. Paul is the Paul Atreides is the one who will lead him to who will point the way. And apologies if I kept saying John. Did I keep saying John when I was supposed to be saying Paul? Oh well, sorry about that. At the end of this film, when Paul does something that, I guess if you are maybe if you're a political strategist yourself, or if you read the books, I'm sure you saw this little thing coming concerning the emperor's daughter. What Paul says, like, uh, really, guy, that's how you're gonna help become a, a a calculating, and that's how you're gonna arrange peace between the houses, and find your place, and help these people on Caracas. I guess I'm saying that wrong. Caracas, the spice planet. How they're going to finally have peace, and the green paradise and all that. Um, anyway, it was a surprise, and genuine suffering instantly comes over Zendaya's character, Johnny. Uh, the way that's I was hearing the word Johnny as I watched the movie, so it's actually Johnny. Uh, and I immediately started getting kind of sad. But at the same time, there's this climax in the movie where he does battle with this evil little freak. I mean, the character played by, come on now, Austin Butler, Faid Rotha. He outdid Batista's character from the first film. And you talk about a switch. I was expecting Dave Bautista's character, Beast Rabin, to just be. I thought there was gonna be like a war with him again. I don't know the books though. He was almost like an incompetent boob. That's the way they played him off, and I was like, this is totally different. But again, there's always another, just like Yoda said, and it was this Fade Rapha who is even more cruel and evil with his the stuff you see him doing, the way he is in this movie than even Batista looked like he was, and it's just it's so interesting. Um, I'm looking forward to the third film. I just read somewhere today that there's going to be a third film, and of course the headline was about how it might not be out for 5 years, and that shouldn't be the case, implying that it should be out a whole lot sooner than that because they're doing such a good job, at least from my humble opinion. Again, I haven't read the books for the 10,000th time I've had to say that, but it's it's really good stuff. And as I'm looking at the cast here on IMDb, something that I I realized was is the case. I'm like, at the end of the first film, this character Jameis, I remember that Paul Atreides sees him in like a vision, saying something about the desert and about the worms, about how you have to just embrace it or something like that. The desert, you have to just, and it was a good line, but it's in one of those half vision sequences where it's obviously something Paul is saying, and the sun is shining, and you almost can't see that it's Jameis, played by Babs Olusanmuken, the guy who challenged him at the end of the first movie. Like, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you so headstrong and determined to fight him to the death? I was almost like, why? Why are you doing this? And it was the first time when Paul had to prove himself, which he did, and he killed Jameis. That carries over to the first. It was a battle to the death for honor's sake and all this. One of us has to die because of this desert ritual junk, and it's like at the end of that film, you really get the feeling of how these people in this world live in the desert and what honor means to them and how serious they take certain things, their lives, each other, protecting one another, a code. And anyway, back to what I was saying. I finally realized this. I remember the scene being after their fight to the death, where Jameis dies. Like, what am I seeing things, or is this like? Do I think all black people look alike, or why am I? That looks like him, the guy who just died. Why is he having a vision about the guy? Well, I finally understand now. There's a connection with these people in his visions and Paul's visions. That was Jameis that he saw at the end of the film, telling him about the desert. And I guess he was like in the Jedi Nether or whatever, just speaking to Paul for a second, just saying something about the worms and about the desert and about how life is here on this planet, and how you have to just let go or something like that. I can't remember the line because I only saw the film the one time 3 years ago in the movie theater. Anyway, you see Jameis. That's just like a burial procedure ceremony for him leading into this film, the beginning of part two. Josh Brolin comes back as Gurney Halleck. I just knew he had to be alive because it didn't show him dying the way that Jason Momoa's character died in that self-sacrifice. You want to talk about sorry? We're driving home, and my sister, I'm like, "Wait, you don't remember the part where Jason Momoa dies?" And she's like, "What? I can't remember." And the thing is, she could when we talked about it way back then, but now she can't now. Anyways, he had that self-sacrifice death, and then I thought of Josh Brolin's character as almost like a Han Solo character in this because he's smuggling. How did he end up? I thought they were all killed when that happened in the horrible night attack and the entire house of Atreides. All of the warrior class was wiped out by these evil jokers. These bald, they look like Prometheus to me. You've seen Ridley Scott's Prometheus. Remember the engineers? That's what this whole race of guys looks like to me, with that kind of pasty, bald appearance. looking like I don't know what. Anyways, there was some brutal stuff in that first movie, and it was so there was just such a tension about it. I remember as I thought in the movie theater because, again, my favorite character in the first film was Oscar Isaac's character, Duke Leto Atreides. I was like, from the first time you see him and he's talking to his son, and Paul says, "What if I can't? What if I can't basically step up and lead and take your place in time? But what if I can't do it, or what if I choose not to?" And when he says, "You're going to be my son, I'm going to love you either way," I was like, and then you see him, the dignity and the caring for other people that you see, Duke Leto Atreides. I'm just going to say Oscar Isaac's character to save time. Oscar Isaac's character. He was my favorite character in the film because of how decent a person he was, how he cared about everybody, and he had such a sense of morality about him, and making sure everybody was all right. And then for him to die the way that he died at the hands of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, Stellan Skarsgård's character. My sister thought he's just so ugly. That's all she could remember from the first movie is how ugly he was. She can't even remember Jason Momoa's character because all I remember is how ugly that guy was. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Um, so Oscar Isaac's character was my favorite character in that first film, and the only reason I'm talking more about the first film in this when I'm supposed to be talking about part two is because I forgot to talk about it back then. I was just too lazy to get behind my mic and my camera and just collect my thoughts about this. Um, Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica Atreides. She always, again, in the first film, liked her better in this than in the first film because there was something about the audio, and it wasn't just the theater I was in. I saw online, like people said, watch a screen with subtitles or something like that. They put in the comments of YouTube and stuff, like you're gonna want subtitles to hear what's going on in this movie. And I finally understood what they were talking about when I wanted to see it for myself. But yeah, it was just good stuff. Let me click out of this, go back to IMDb on part two. What else can I say? What else can I say? Um, really enjoyed the flick. I'm glad I got closure on that thing I was curious about before. That was Jameis, and it all ties into his visions and stuff. Austin Butler as Fade Rotha, man. One thing about it, he's such a cold-blooded character, so ruthless, and he was obviously power hungry. But I was thinking a second ago before I even started this, when I was thinking, what do I want to say in my review? I'm glad the storytelling went this way, that he got his comeuppance in this movie. I don't want to wait 2 or 3 years to find out what happens to this Joker. He gets killed, Kiltded, dead, killed in this film. Again, spoilers. I'm going to put spoilers at the start of this video. And I haven't seen him in anything. I saw a trailer for Masters of the Air, which I'm not seeing that because I don't have Netflix or any of this stuff or whatever it's on. And he was in that movie Elvis, and I just didn't care to watch. It looked like it was a bit too much on the sensual part of Elvis's life or whatever. And I thought, I'll skip that. But he was a good evil guy in this, and I mean, just he was just immersed in it. And that whole family's evil, basically. And they sure enough got their comeuppance at the end of this part of the story. I'm excited to see whatever's going to be in part two, part three of this, because obviously at the end of this film, all these other high houses, they're not going to accept Paul, and yet Paul has just had his ring kissed by the emperor. And again, I'll end with this, and this is why I enjoyed the movie as much as I did. It was an emotional climax, sort of, that I was going through as I watched. Like, this director, Dennis, is it Dennis? Gonna get this wrong. Villanueva. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I want to say Venezuela. Dennis Villanueva. has so much to get across in these movies, obviously, and it wasn't slow the way I thought parts of the first film were downright boring spaces. There was more of an upbeat Rebel Alliance Star Wars kind of vibe when you see the way that some things are when you see them attacking the mining equipment and taking it to the enemy who's invading them and ripping them off, taking the spice and doing whatever they want to the planet. Um, and Paul getting closer to these people who he's adopted them and they've accepted him. This thing that's happening at the same time because his life, his fortune, his fate is tied in with them. He's lost his father, and oh man, it was just good stuff. That he is that he is accepting it. He's embracing this unique place that's been foisted upon him. He's not running away from it, and I'm it's an interesting kind of character because he never really has. He just had doubts that he could be what he needs to be, and so he's a very admirable kind of character in that he doesn't want to do too much. He almost doesn't want to do maybe hardly anything at first because there was enough humility in him that I just like his character, like Paul's character. Who knows what's going to happen? I haven't read the books, and I'm enjoying the movie so much. But it's like at the end of the film, this is what I was almost tearing up about. It had to do with Zendaya's character. She's almost like alone now in her mind, I guess. At the end of the film, you see her set up the thing to call the worm. You know, she's about to sail off into the wild blue yonder, and Paul has basically kicked butt and taken names. He is the leader of, he's the accepted, like the savior, prophet, leader who will lead them to paradise and all this. It was such a beautiful thing. And the music, if it hadn't been for the music, I probably wouldn't have been getting almost choked up. I kid you not. As this movie ended and as you see Zendaya's character just kind of, it was heart wrenching. It was a heart wrenching thing to watch. She just kind of sheepishly walks back and she leaves them all as they're, but you're about to see a brief scene of jubilation as they're uh, ch- chanting and throwing their arms in the air because they defeated their enemies. And for it to end in that way, I just thought, this is such a bittersweet thing. This is beautiful. There's something about this story, at least this part of it, that's so beautiful. And I'm just wondering what in the world's the third film gonna take. I mean, what in the world's what's gonna happen next? So yeah, I'll just say I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know me. If I think of more stuff that I want to add to this video, probably not going to upload it anytime soon. I'll just add it to this and keep going. As it is, I've talked for over 28 minutes, so I'm going to call this good for now and say thank you for sticking with me this far. Thank you so much for listening to me give my thoughts about Dune Part 2. It was a good one. All right, and I'm back. Hey, folks, just a little bit more about this. I know I do this a lot where I want to add a little bit more, then a little bit more, then a little bit more. I am finally going to upload this video one day, and it's probably going to be this week. Just a little bit more about Dune Part 2 and the ending that really got to me. I had mentioned before about how there was a kind of a tear jerking moment right at the end. And the thing is, it's kind of deceiving, and I'll admit that. Leave it to them to just put some music, a nice piece of music, over whatever's going on to help amplify whatever emotions you're supposed to be feeling as you watch this story unfold. It was just great. It was just great at the ending, and I just want to spend just a few minutes more talking about what I got out of this film. Um, wow. Um, this if nothing else, if you're listening to me ramble on a little bit longer in this video about just how much a good movie, just how much I enjoy a good movie and to just enjoy a good time at the movies. Dune 2 did it. This might be the best one I've seen. I enjoyed Aquaman 2, but as far as the big stuff, this might be something I've enjoyed the most since Top Gun 2. That's Top Gun Maverick. That's how much I enjoyed this. One thing though, at the end, it this is gonna be me rambling the way I do. I didn't write anything down. I just want to tell you what I feel. That's what I like doing about movies. I like just talking about how I felt about what I saw and what I think about it also. I have no hope. As interesting as that is for me, I have no hope that the the love story that I really got into between uh, Paul and I forgot her name again. It's Zendaya's character. I better be looking at this while I talk, just so that I can at least get some names right. Uh, Johnny. Um, my ears kept hearing Johnny. I think I mentioned that before. I was choking up a little bit. I'm like, what is this? Is this the way it has to be? And it must be because um, Paul is basically a Jedi master now. They've made him to be kind of a Jesus, a prophet, like a Jesus character. He knows what's in the thoughts and intents of people, what their memories are, and all the rest of it. That's what sold him, and they all believe in him now. And so he's going to lead them to paradise. And he knew exactly how to defeat. I mean, I enjoyed the fight, Fade Rotha by Austin Butler. I enjoyed that fight, but at the same time, in the back of my mind over here, I'm like, I know who's going to win. I just know who has to win because Paul has said he sees it all now. He knew how good this guy is as a fighter, but he also knows what he's going to have to do. He knows he's going to have to get stabbed up a little bit, but he knows what the killing blow is going to be and how he's going to beat the guy and he's going to kill the guy. And really, that kind of brings some ethical and moral question marks up, doesn't it? But yeah, it's like it's taken a little bit of the. Hopefully, it'll fade from my mind before the other movie. Hopefully, it'll get here before 5 years. The way the one guy's saying it might not be here till 5 years from now. That's insane. That's way too long. Maybe it'll fade from my mind just how much Paul knows now. But what does it mean? Maybe that'll be part of the dialogue. How it's fading from me. I can't see things. I can't see things so perfectly anymore. Are billions of souls going to starve? Are billions of people going to die from starvation because the spice is going to be interrupted? It just he knows everything, so it's kind of ruining it a little bit for me. But at the same time, I enjoyed the movie so much, and I know I'll enjoy the next one. But it really was that music at the end. It was some beautiful music to go with some beautiful visuals. That's what it was at the end of at least in my opinion, a coherent continuation of what had already been started. And just to contrast these two movies again, there are just certain things that stand up in my mind, and this is where I can actually say something critical. When Dave Bautista's character from that first movie, I thought he was going to be what Fade Rotha was, what Austin Butler was portraying in this movie. I thought it was going to be a continuation of that. No, I've already mentioned this before, how Glosso Rabin, he's almost like an incompetent in this, and it just kind of throwing me off as I watched the movie. He's obviously filled with rage and he's a murderer, but it's like this is he's a killer, but he's messing up. He's got his uh, Baron Latimer is telling him, and then his own brother is it telling him, humiliate us again and I'll kill you. It's like you better tighten up, boy. You better start killing more efficiently, I guess. You because you're slipping up big time. They're gonna it's like in Indiana Jones. They're gonna say goodbye to you like they do in Germany. They're gonna be really they're gonna kill you. And the thing is, the way he has his it's like it's treated like a final showdown between him and Gurney. But in the first movie, maybe it's in a deleted scene that I've never seen, they never had any contact. They might have known of each other. They knew who each other. But they did. They never fought before, and yet it's treated as a big thing. I thought it should have been an even bigger thing when it was, but that would have made even less sense because there was nothing. There was no foundation for their actually encountering one another personally. Even when they were attacking the night attack, that was just blowing me away. When I watched the first movie, I'm like, these poor people are this ambush. These people are being killed off. This is one of the worst things I've seen in anything science fiction, sci-fi or related, or fantasy movie. Like they're sure enough being they're playing for keeps. These guys, these bad guys who are taking over this planet. And then you get to part two, where again it's part of the music too. At least two or maybe three sequences when there's the mining vehicle, and Paul and Johnny are out there with like the desert rebels. They're like if the Sand People were good, really good, attacking the Empire in Star Wars or something. The hopeful visuals that you see of they're fighting back and they're winning, complete 180-degree reversal from the first movie, when our supposed heroes, the people who that we would identify more, at least so far, you don't know what the future holds, because who are these other houses who are rejecting Paul's ascension to? Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what's going to happen next. That's what, and I'm almost torn up. I'm like, do I want to get in the books first, or do I want to watch the movies? That's a stupid thing to ask, but I'm like, I don't know what to do because I'm enjoying the films that much. You could ruin it for yourself if you start watching the books, listen, reading the books halfway through some movies you're enjoying. You could get all mixed up. I don't know what to do. I guess I'll have to decide though. Uh, but going back to what I was saying, it's a much more hopeful tone than in the first movie when they were on the run for the whole time, and then for it to end the way that it ends. He's gonna marry the Emperor's daughter. Zendaya is clearly upset. Going off into the desert, she's gonna ride a sandworm to the get away from these people. She doesn't believe in all this stuff, but she will come around. Paul said he knows that. He knows she'll eventually understand the prophecy. She'll come to understand and appreciate this stuff, what I'm having to do here. But it's like, I'm just starting to think that they've done so much. I'm starting to think again. I haven't read the books, but something's telling me that they've actually done a really good job of, or maybe as much as a movie can, of conveying the actual books, because everything is slowed down so much. It's in these installments that it's like it was just a beautiful ending, and it's part of what made me enjoy the movie overall as much as I did. Because that one character, it's like Stilgar, Javier Bardem's character, his faith, his confidence, and his people's beliefs and what they've been looking forward to for so long is paying off. You see how jubilant, how rejoicing these people are at the end of this movie, because they have their chosen one. He is our guy, and they know it beyond any shadow of doubt. It's such an interesting, it's such a great way to end it. But I'm going to be kicking myself if I remember something later that I wanted to say, but I think I got it out. I think I finally got it out of my system. You got to get it out of your system when you're making a movie review. Paul knows everything, but does he? I've just got to believe that. I've got to leave a question mark up in the air and just look forward to the next film. Anyways, if I do think of anything else I wanted to say, I'll write it down and save it for the part 3, I guess, whenever that film comes out. Thank you for listening to me, folks. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed listening to me rant, rave, ramble about this stuff. I just enjoy it. That's why I'm making these videos. Anyways, till next time, thanks again.